What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name is Faith. I'm a registered nurse. On this channel we talk about general leveling up, especially in your career, and especially if you are a nurse who wants to relocate from their country to the US. This is the channel for you. So if you haven't subscribed yet, you're missing out. Please subscribe and like this video if you get value from it. So today we are going to talk about the popular questions that are asked at the US Embassy for the EB3 visa, that is the employment-based visa. So, without saying much, let's get right into the video. The way we are going to approach this video is we are going to categorize the kind of questions that you are likely to be asked at the embassy into three main categories. And after giving you all the questions that I have compiled, I'll also tell you what to expect after you have been told that your visa is approved. So, the categories that you're going to work with are the future employment questions, that is the employment, your employment in the US. And I think I'll also add in some of the questions about your current employment that they will ask you. And then the second category will be the personal questions, that is the questions pertaining yourself. And then the third category will be the family questions about your family, your spouse, your children. Yeah, so let's get right into it. Okay, so let's get right with the first category, your future employment in the US. Some of the questions that they might ask you. The first question is, where will you be working? Now, most of the time before you get out of your country to the US, before even you get to the exit interview, you already have an employer. That is, your agency has already found a hospital for you to work in, and you've already done your interview and you have your employer. So you should be knowing where you're going to work. And if you have not been given where to work by this time, then your agency will give you the right directions on what to say if at all they ask you about where you're going to work. So that's the first question. The second question under this category is, where will you go upon arrival in the US? Now, this also is something that your agency will already have told you. If you are going straight to the state of your employment, you'll already know. If you are going somewhere else so that someone picks you to your state of employment, you'll already know. If your agency has a program that, like my agency, you have to go attend classes before you go to your place of work, you'll have already known. So be ready with an answer to this question. It's a very common question. So that's the second question. The third question under this category is, where will you stay? Again, you'll have already known where you're going to stay once you land in the US. And mostly the state that you're going to live in, you should have already known. So have these answers with you in your head. These are very straightforward questions, and trust me, at the embassy they don't ask you anything magical. It is just the questions that you should expect to be asked. So the fourth question that you're likely to be asked under this category is, will you be covered by a health insurance in the US? And with this, your agency already has told you, and even before you sign the contract or after you sign the contract or during the contract, you'll see, even if you read through the contract, you'll see some of the benefits that you'll get as you work with them. So health insurance is one of the benefits in most of the contracts with the agencies. So sure to have that in your head, because they might ask you. Because Remember, when you are sending your documents to NVC, your employment agreement is one of them. So they have that agreement and they are looking at it and they just want to confirm from you what you'll be asked, as in if you know if you'll be covered by a health insurance, because also health is very expensive in the US. So it is something that they want to make sure that you are insured before you get there. Okay, the fifth question under this category is how much are you going to be paid? This one you already know, it is in your contract. So go read your contract, know the pay that you are supposed to be given when you go work in the US. And mostly the contracts say the pay per hour. So know that if it is $30 per hour, if it's $50 per hour, know that, and because they will ask you that. Another question that they might ask you about this under this category is, do you know anyone else who has used your agency? Yes, you should say the truth. If you know someone else that has used your agency, tell them. If it's a friend, if it's a family member, tell them, because they'll not penalize you because you've told them that you know someone. So they just want to know that this is a legit company that is helping people relocate to the US. The last question under this category, this is last but definitely not least, there might be other questions, is any issues with your agency in terms of employment. They might ask you that. So if you've had any issues, maybe you've heard it from other people, tell them, but most of the time there are really surely no issues, in terms of employment. So those are the questions that you might be asked under this category, your future employment in the US. Now, the second category that we are going to look at is your personal questions. Questions that are directed specifically to you. The first questions: are you married or have you been previously married? Now, if you're married, you say yes, I'm married, and mostly probably you'll have your spouse there. So, and your marriage certificate is in your documents that they collected, you'll say that. If you're not married, you'll also say that I'm not married. If you are previously married, you'll say yes, I was previously married, and in this case now they'll ask you for any document or a divorce certificate or any document that shows that you separated from this individual. So just be ready for that as you are giving your answer. The second question under this category is, what are the names and ages of your children? Definitely you should know that. There's no mother or father who should not know the names and ages of their children. They just want to confirm, because you might have just taken someone's kid and you want to help them to get out of your country. So know this in your head, because they're just confirming that really you are the one who applied this visa, and those people accompanying you are legitimately your children, or they are legitimately your adopted children, whichever the case. Third question under this category is, have you traveled to the US before? If you have, yes. If you haven't, no. And if you say yes, mostly they'll follow up with, how long did you stay in the US? So if you stayed there more than 6 months, know that you'll have to provide a police clearance from the US. So just know that as you are answering these questions. The fourth question under this category is, do you have family that lives in the US? And this, you know the answer. If yes, you'll tell them. If no, you'll also tell them. If you say yes, now they'll also ask which family members, where do they live, It is not anything to penalize you, but they just want to know that maybe at least you'll have anchorage when you land there. So, and then the fifth question under this category is, what countries have you traveled to? So you'll also tell them the countries that you've traveled to, and if you say yes, they'll also ask you for how long you've stayed there, and if it's over 6 months, they'll ask for a police clearance. So take note of that. Another question under this category that they might ask you is, have you ever been refused a visa before? Now, if you say yes, now they'll ask you under what terms, and that will open and they'll want to look into why you are refused a visa. And for this case, please don't lie. If you have been ever refused a visa by the US Embassy, please tell them, because sometimes they might have refused a visa, like a visitor's visa, or maybe a student visa. You are just refused. It's not that you have been blocked entry into the US. And if you lie and they look into their database and they see that you tried to get to the US and they denied you a visa and you lied, you'll lose your chances of getting into the US. So just be truthful with such kind of question. Another question that you might be asked under this category is, have you ever committed a crime before? If you have, say yes. If you have not, say no. And if you lie and they find that, when we were applying for anything, we were giving our fingerprints, and when you have any criminal investigation or something, at some point they might take your fingerprints, and if they look at your data, like what do they call, what's the word, like your background check, if they do that and they find that you have a criminal background or history and you lied, that will be your undoing. So just say yes if you have ever, and they will ask you if it was resolved. Of course, if it was resolved, there are other things that they might look at before they give you the visa. So it's okay. Don't lie, because if your fingerprints were taken somewhere, be careful. Another question that they might ask you is, how did you and your husband meet? And this can be directed to you or to the both of you. So you know your story, you'll tell them your story. Another question that they might ask you is, how have you ever worked in the military? Yeah, there are some nurses who work under the military. So if you have ever, you'll say yes. If you have not, you'll say no. If you have ever worked with the military, they'll need military clearance, something like that. I think with the military, you have to get clearance from the military too before you relocate. So they'll ask for that. So you know the answer. Another question that they might ask you is, do you have other children? So if you have more children, let's say they are over 21 years old, or they are married and you are leaving them behind, say yes and you have them. If they are just the ones that you have there, you say no. If you don't have children, you say no. Yeah. Another question is, how long have you been a nurse? This you should know. Know it, please, because they already have your certificate. They have a copy of your transcript, probably from the agency that was filing your visa. So tell the truth. Please don't be confused with such critical personal information. Look at your certificate, look at when you graduated, because you might just be asked about that. So have these answers, because they are easy answers, but if they throw at you and you are like, these people might start doubting you. So be careful. Another question that they might ask you is, where did you do your Nclex exam? That you might have gone to South Africa, to India, to the US, to the UK. The Nclex centers, whichever one that you use, be it the Philippines. So know the center that you did your Nclex with, and that's as good as that. Another question that they might ask you is, what is your specialty? Yeah, tell them the specialty. If you are a general nurse, tell them, yeah, I don't have a specific specialty, but I'm a general nurse. So if you have a specialty, tell them, because they have your documents. So tell them the truth. Another one is, have you read the booklet you are given? Now guys, when you go at the embassy, when they call you the second time, there's someone who will counter check your documents, and they'll give you a booklet. Now that booklet contains your rights as an immigrant in the US, and it's written in Swahili. So know whatever is written in there. Just peruse through the book, because they might ask you about that book. So that is it for personal questions. Now I'll go for the third category. I've written them in here because I don't have them in my head. I had to compile them so that I don't forget. The third category. These are questions about your dependents. These may be directed to you, or to your dependent, or to the both of you. So now this is, if you have a husband, this is what they might ask him. When was your wedding date? Know that, because you've given them your marriage certificate. So know that like the back of your hand. Yes. Another question that they might ask your spouse, or the both of you, is, no, your spouse, what is your occupation? Very common. Your spouse knows what he does for a living. So tell them to know what they do for a living, child. They'll ask about that. Another question that they might ask your spouse is, what occupation do you intend to pursue in the US? He knows it, she knows it. Tell them to have an answer ready for such kind of a question. To your children, this is not common. They don't really ask kids questions, but they might. So a question that they might ask your children is, especially like 10-year-old, 12-year-old, they must ask their age, so that your baby should know their age. I don't think they'll penalize your baby for saying some things, because you see, different age groups of kids can interpret questions however they want. There is an age group that kids just have their imagination wild, and they might say anything. So that's why they don't really ask kids questions so much, but it's good for them to know their age. They might even ask them, what class or grade are you? It's okay. The kids will say wherever the class they are or the grade they are in, it's okay. But just remember this, most of the time they don't ask your dependents or the people accompanying you a lot of questions. You are the principal applicant, so you'll take the most punches. So you are the one who should have flexed your muscles in preparation for this interview. You know that. Another question that they might ask you and your spouse is wedding photos. This is what I was asked, and I didn't have them. So you might as well want to carry your wedding photos with you. I'm talking about those tangible ones. Don't carry them in a flash disk, because I had all videos and weddings, whatever photos that we had, on a flash drive, and I couldn't get in with them. So have them with you just in case they want to see them. Something that they might also ask the both of you is some photos of your children at different milestone or stages of development. Yeah, they might ask about this, because this is what I imagine. If you don't look like your kid and your husband doesn't look like your kids or your spouse, they might want to know, is this really their child? So they might want your kids' photos at different milestones, and maybe with you in it, I don't know. But this is some of the things that they might ask. But I think this is extreme. They might also ask your medical records. Yep. So if you have any medical issues or something like that, because you know you've gone to the IOM and they asked you if you have hypertension, you're taking any medication for anything, you have diabetes, you have gout, they'll want to know. So if the IOM tells them that this person has this, they have asthma, they have what, they might need those medical records. So you might as well just carry them with you when you go to the embassy. Now, with that being said, we have finished the questions that you might encounter at the embassy. Now, after you've gone through the interview and they tell you, congratulations, ma'am or Mr., your visa is approved, they'll give you a green form, not really a form, but a green, yeah, it's a green form, and it shows that your visa is approved, and it has a lot of information written on it, and you'll have to read it. Now, after they've given you that, what you should expect is your passports will remain at the embassy, all of your passports, and this will be sent back to you after they've stamped your visa in it. So if you are in Kenya, I think there is a website, I need to look, there's a website that you should go on and register which DHL company is near you, so that your passport and everything will be sent to that DHL office. So you should go there and sign and fill in the details, and your passport and your package will be sent there. So just remember that. Don't just be happy and go away and forget that you need to pick your things later. Now, after your package has been sent to the DHL, I'll look for the website and put it on the screen. So after it has been sent to the DHL and you have to go pick it, if it is you and your husband and your children that are grown, I think over 18 years, yeah, you must go personally. If you don't go personally, you should write a letter with their birth certificate, and that letter must be notarized, and you take it to the DHL for the collection. So that's a very big hassle. So just prepare that when you get a message that your package is ready for collection, please go all of you, so that you can pick it. If there are kids, small kids, you might pick for them, but just carry their birth certificate with you. Another thing, when you go to collect your package, you must open the paper that is not the envelopes but the top covering, and you will see some of the envelopes will have your details on them. So check your name, make sure it's accurate, check the date of birth, check the gender and the marital status on top of those envelopes. Do not open the envelopes, but just check the details, and also look at your visa and confirm the same details that they are accurate. And then I've already said that the envelopes that are in there are not supposed to be opened. You'll be carrying those envelopes with you to the US on your carry-on luggage. Yeah, I have not done that, but I know that you don't put them in your other luggages that will go to the cargo, but on your carry-on luggage, and you'll give it to the first what do we call these people? You'll submit them to the consular at the port of entry to the US. So if wherever you land, as long as it is in the US, the very first landing point, the consular that you'll meet there, you'll give them those envelopes. So yeah, I think I've gone through probably all the questions that you might be asked for this visa category when you go for your exit interview. And I need to stop there, and thank you guys for sticking around up to this time. If you haven't subscribed yet, please don't finish this video without subscribing, and like this video if you found it helpful. I know it is very helpful, because trust me, you are going to meet these questions at your exit interview. So just thank me by hitting that subscribe button. Otherwise, that being said, I'll see you guys in my next video. For now, it's goodbye.